Tell me a little bit more about this new organization you're involved in, the Chamber of Commerce.
You put a bunch of knuckleheads in a room and we get some good ideas.
Well, there's some pretty powerful knuckleheads behind this,
that's
from what I
right.
understand.
Love it. So, United States Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce.
United States
That's right.
Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce.
That's right. So, our flagship service is to recognize military spouse-owned business. Think veteran-owned, think woman-owned, think minority-owned. Now think military spouse-owned. We've created this certification, and we've already got corporate buy-in from several organizations that are going to recognize our cert and track supplier diversity spend with military spouse-owned business.
Give me an example of what that means.
So if you're a company and you're looking for a marketing agency to come in and do a certain project, you would usually say, okay, supplier diversity people, what do we need, right? And then you go through and you look at the vendors that you have as an option, and you might select a veteran-owned business.
Got it.
Now they can pick a military spouse-owned business.
Who's the governing body or what's the echelon, or I don't even know what question I'm trying to ask. Who sanctions that and says yes?
Us, the Military Spouse Chamber.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So I was confused. I'm glad we're having this conversation then. So a military spouse business applies or comes to you and says, I am officially a military spouse-owned business?
Right. They have to provide, just like if you were going to become a veteran-owned business, proof that you are a military spouse.
Okay.
Legitimate business documentation. So your articles of formation and your LLC and all that stuff.
Wow.
And then you have to go through the process. We have to make sure you're, checking all the blocks off. And then we issue out the certification if you are.
And then your organization is then working on the back end to get into this diversity that you just mentioned for supply chain and vendors and everything like that?
I consider my job here to open B2B opportunities for military spouse-owned businesses. If we can go out there and forge the relationships with companies, companies will want to hire military spouses to come on board and do projects.
This is a big deal, and I feel this small because we've been chatting for the past month or so, and I somehow missed this part of it. And I try to be very prepared on shows to understand who I'm talking to in the background and everything, and I miss this.
That's all right.
You're going to repeat that because this is like, this is a big, no, I'm serious. This is a big deal. So this Chamber of Commerce, again, a military spouse-owned business can come to you, show the articles of organization or formation, prove to you that they're a business, prove to you the credentials that they are a military spouse, and you're creating this B2B type, say that again?
B2B opportunity. We are building relationships with corporations in the private sector.
Okay.
Who will recognize the legitimacy of the certification.
Wow. I knew her first. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal.
Yeah, we're going to get pretty busy.
You're going to get very busy. So this is a newly formed organization.
January 2021 launch date.
January 2021 launch date. And is that when you go to the community with open arms saying, hey, come register here?
Yeah, right now, Jamie, the IT person, is breaking the website. When we're done with that, we'll do a soft
launch.
launch.
Breaking the website.
That's right. I'm trying.
Wow. What's the website? What's the domain going to be?
millspousechamber.org.
millspousechamber.org. Do you know how many roughly military spouse-owned businesses there are in America?
Surprisingly, there's a lot. So the best resource I know of to check this is Rosie's list. And in Rosie's list, I believe there are nearly 50,000 total businesses registered up in there.
50,000.
About over half of them are military spouse-owned businesses.
Whoa. And big shout out to the Rosie Network,
That's
by the
right.
way. Yeah.
That's right. Stephanie says hi.
Well, tell Stephanie hi. I look forward to taking you guys to dinner one day. But you guys are too busy now. You got to get through this launch. So what's the 2-year or just near-term and long-term goal of this chamber and organization?
Truthfully, my whole mission in life, it's military spouse careers and not jobs. And because so many spouses turn to entrepreneurship, the chamber is a fit for bringing spouses to this one-stop shop where they can get certified and recognized as a legitimate business. And then they have the resources and tools that they need to go to folks to learn, is entrepreneurship even right for me? If I need to dissolve a business, how do I do that?
You can ask me.
That's right.
Done that a few times.
If I need to hire employees and give them benefits, how do I do that?
I'm providing value today. I had the best question in the world. So as my mind is just racing now, because again, well, if I'm the military spouse and I'm part of your Chamber of Commerce, what happens when the service member ETSs or retires?
We have a very inclusive definition of a military spouse.
Okay.
So the philosophy is that if you supported your service member at any time during their career, that impacts your career for the rest of your life. And so we include the spouses of active duty, Guard, Reserve, Gold Star spouses, retired spouses, and the spouses of veterans.
Wow. Do you sometimes see, and we have, do you sometimes see a trade-off? Like, okay, husband and wife,
Mhm.
I'm the wife, husband's working. I'm going to sacrifice what I need now, but then later on, the husband will sacrifice.
I've seen some ugly stuff. So when I used to work at the Transition Assistance Program, I would hear soldiers coming through and saying, well, now that I'm retiring, my wife can get a real job. Or they would say like, oh, I have to get a job that pays a ton of money because my spouse is never going to make any money. And this is where that support system comes in. Even if they're not going to make a ton of money right now, you've got to throw your support behind them. Support their volunteering, support their school that they're going to, the certification they're approaching, got to support them.
Key. And that, we say that, got to support them. And that's in every marriage, number one. If you want to make it, right? I mean, you got to support your spouse. But the problem is it's harder to support maybe the spouse when I'm the service member and I'm deployed. Constant deployments. I'm going on training. I'm deployed. I'm this. So it's easy to say the words support, but it's harder to put into action.
Yeah.
Because when I have a 9 to 5, I can support my spouse. I'll cook dinner tonight. I got you. Focus on your stuff. But when I'm in Afghanistan for 6 months, what can I do? How do I support you?
Okay. The service member has the ultimate trump card. Honey, if I don't go to work, the national security is at risk. If my head's not in the game, people are going to get killed. We are here to support you. The military spouse is here to support the service member, right? But at the same time, you've got to recognize it is a hard life, and you've got to give your spouse some grace. So you may be sitting here judging your spouse, thinking, oh, she can't get a real job or she can't make any money. And that's okay. I can see where the sentiment comes from. But your inner thoughts bleed through and impact your spouse's confidence, and it compounds over time.
And not only that, the military is changing. And I got out a long time ago, so I don't know. I'm not really the military guy anymore, but the military's changing. Aren't they trying to be a more family-friendly employer, per se?
It's do or die. They have to become family friendly. The force has to evolve to keep its service members in. If you didn't know about this, they just changed the way they give retirement.
And hold on, I want to talk. The force has to evolve to keep people in.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
If you have an E3 making $24,000 and their wife is at the food pantry while they're deployed, do you think that service member's going to stay in? No. The military has to become a desirable employer that can actually compete with the private sector and pay their people and treat the families well.
So it used to be, hey, I did 20 and I'm going to get a paycheck for life,
Yeah.
which is great. I support that. And everybody, I didn't do it, but it's changing now. The retirement system, the methodology is changing.
So I'm not the blended retirement system expert, but the blended retirement system, the old retirement's sort of like a pension. You did your 20, you got out, you got an instant paycheck. For the rest of your life, you're supported, you're taken care of. The blended retirement system is like a 401k. You get out after 20 and you don't see your retirement until you're 65. But it almost incentivizes getting out earlier because you do 6 years and you can take a little nest egg with you when you go and then go to the private sector.
Yeah. So why, unless you have just, we're all patriots, but unless you're just diehard, love your job in the military, why would you stay for 20 then?
Exactly. There's going to be a huge retention problem 10 years from now if we don't treat people first in the military.
And when did this come about?
The blended retirement system? A year and a half, 2 years ago.
And you were in Germany? Was this like a big deal?
Yeah, it was a big deal. And thankfully, old dinosaurs like my husband got to keep the old pension, and then it's the young guns.
Was there rumors that this was coming?
It was well rolled out. People knew.
So like a year prior, you knew everything was coming. Wow.
Yeah.
So even more of a reason to start developing the spouses
You have
support.
well, not just spouse careers. It's every facet of military quality of life that needs to be impacted positively, or service members are going to be dropping like flies in 5 or 10 years.
It's a big
It's
deal.
scary, right?
Yeah. Back on entrepreneurship.
Oh.
Sorry, as we rewind. What other types of companies do you see, or entrepreneurial activities, ventures, do you see military spouses getting into?
There's so many. Military spouses are all over the place. You know, there's marketing agencies, there's freelance writers, there's people that do IT, there's people that make handmade products. There's actually military spouse influencers that do the thing on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah. All
TikTok.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think being in and around a big base helps? You have other military spouses maybe? Are there more support networks for spouses to kind of do their own thing, per se, on the entrepreneurial side?
Spouse business owners often feel isolated because I would say the folks that work in the traditional workforce don't quite understand entrepreneurship. And it's harder, you know, as a business owner, you have to wear all the hats, and it can be a little bit frazzling, and you get overwhelmed, and you have friends, you have a support system, but maybe they're not all entrepreneurs. What I found is my best friend is an entrepreneur. No matter where we live, she's also a military spouse. I have somebody.
What does she do?
She's a makeup artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does she travel? I mean,
She's in Germany right now and
wow.
does all these fancy schmancy events.
How did she get into that? Do you know? Just out of
She's
curiosity.
an Air Force veteran and
Just kind of got out and fell into it type thing? Wow. How has 2020 shaped you? You personally, as regards to your business and life?
2020 has been the year of doors closing and doors opening. You know, in my own business, I did a really big pivot in the beginning of 2021. And I went from a career coaching and resume writing model to a staffing model. Then 2020 happened, and then some doors were closing and some other ones opened in terms of getting on this military spouse entrepreneur task force I worked on. And that's
Where was that?
Sorry. There's a whole backstory to it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But that's how I met Stephanie Brown, and that's how I met Beth Conlon, who are Stephanie and I are the co-founders of the Chamber, and Beth Conlon's the chairwoman of the board.
Wow. How long has this Chamber of Commerce been in the works?
Since the summer of 2020, and then we formed it September of 2020, and then we're launching it January of 2020.
Is there an entity above you that you had to get approval from, or is that not how this works? I don't.
Legally registered in the state of Texas.
So just so we people get together, form their own company, and they say we're going to go do this, but there's no higher level.
It's not a government organization. It's going to be a nonprofit.
Understood. Wow. Well, look for that. January of 2021, U.S. Mill Spouse.
No, millspousechamber.org.
Millspousechamber.org. Millspousechamber.org. I love it. This is going to be a super big deal. In conclusion, we said it, support. It doesn't have to mean get a job right now, but just support the lifestyle, support the idea of growth for your spouse, support whatever they want to pursue. It may not be dollars right this second, but it's going to turn into something a little bit down the road if you just keep supporting and going forward.
That's right.
Is that accurate?
That's right. Throw your full support behind your spouse. They deserve it, first of all, and you will benefit from it later.
Everybody will benefit. Love it. Thanks for coming on, Jamie.
Thank you.